Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sportsbook in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to betfredsports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Let you finish.
It
We're
is.
Here.
It is.
It's Courtney Amy.
It is. It's
and
all those things.
And I'm rushing into this intro because there was just breaking news.
Oh no, what?
Good breaking news.
Oh,
homosexual what? Of a certain age breaking news.
Kylie Minogue is moving
to
the United States.
No, that would I would just die. But
okay.
Milan.
Oh, Lord, have fucking mercy. All right, I'll be back in 45 minutes. Take it, baby. I'll be here. Call me if you need me.
Milan, I'm finally going to go see Milan in concert. She has just announced her Nevermore tour for 2023 of stadiums, and we kind of think this is her last tour she plans on doing. So now that means in the summer of 2023, I have to get my ass to France to see her stadium tour.
I like how you think you're going to be alive in 2023. I don't think that far ahead.
I mean, it is
that there's going to be France. Let's start with that.
It is. Well, listen, she's putting the tickets go on sale October 1st for a 2023 tour. I hope we're all alive because I plan on being there.
Okay.
All right. Now that we've gotten past that breaking news.
Now that all 10 people in a small French...
Wait. And one more thing.
Oh, no.
Tomorrow, we will know what Britney Spears thinks about everything that's going on with her because she is addressing the court on this conservatorship. And the Times just put out a really extensive piece talking about how she's quietly been trying to get out of this conservatorship since 2016. Now, it's not. I'm not going to go free Britney because that's all weird, and I feel like that's a bunch of people who are looking at something from the outside. I will say that woman is almost 40 years old, and I do believe that when you have a conservatorship the way she does it, everybody is on her payroll. There comes a point where I hope the court listens to her and looks and says, you know what? We have to make some changes here. And that's all I'll say now. Hopefully for her tomorrow, I just hope for anybody, listen, we all have these assumptions. Oh, there's mental illness. There's all of these things. And all of that speculation, because yes, we look at that situation and it absolutely looks strange and weird and it's troublesome. But at the same time, at the center of this is a human being who's almost 40 years old. And I hope she gets some semblance of the control that she's looking for back in her life. That's all I'm going to say on that. But Milan. Now, you hate when I talk about Milan. Everybody.
No.
Let me just say. Everybody I know hates when I talk about Milan. They're like, why are you obsessed with this chick?
Excuse me, Courtney. I'm going to tell you something. I may be one of the few people you know who actually knows
you knew who she was. Everybody else is like, you and Miguel, of course, because Miguel lived in France. But wait. And it's so funny. I tried to have a conversation with her. I was like, this is French lady I like. And he's like, who? And when I said the name, he was like, bitch, come on.
Yeah,
come on.
That's like saying, I like Cher. Really? Yeah. How avant-garde of you.
No one, whenever I mentioned her, no one knows who she is. But you knew who she was.
I know who she is.
And yes, it's horrible, but I love it. And I love her. And I'm going.
Oh,
no, it's pretty bad. When I watch it, no, because here's the thing.
All right.
Here's what I love about her. She does like the bare minimum and everybody loses their shit. Like she's on stage, the dancers are twirling around, and she'll do something like lift her arm, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" And you're like, "Okay."
Excuse me, that sounds like half of the pop artists.
That is
right
true.
Now. I mean,
or it sounds like today is primary day, and the front runner in the election, when asked what his favorite show was, it was the show that actually technically didn't happen.
Yes, but allow me to pick up this thread if I might. All right. So Eric Adams, blah blah blah. I mean, this is a very localized concern, but we have a mayor election now. We're not going to know the result for weeks because we have ranked voting. Don't ask me about that. We voted on this. Supposedly, we voted to do this. I don't remember. All right. So Eric Adams is the front water. We don't like him. He's a dick. That's a whole nother question. So he was asked because suddenly in contemporary politics, we judge people by their coolness and what they listen to. I don't care what you listen to.
Neither do I.
So they asked him, what is his most memorable concert? And he talked about a show in 1990. The late Curtis Mayfield did a show. Well, preface it, was supposed to do a show at Wingate Park, Wingate High School. There were these amazing shows in New York City.
In the
they
summer.
were all free.
It was great.
Our old borough president, they were great shows. I saw Parliament Fuck there. I'm sure you saw great shows. All right. Curtis Mayfield was supposed to perform. That day, the weather was it was the summer. The weather was getting wonky. It was weird. There was wind picking up. And at the show, he had been advised, Mayfield, don't go on, it's bad, we'll cancel. And he said, no, the show must go on. And tragically, equipment fell and he was paralyzed. Okay. So.
Wait, worst part. Because Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes were the opener. They cut that set short because the clouds were moving in.
Right.
And right as, who's the old borough president?
It was Marty Markowitz.
He got on stage to introduce him.
Right. So and so it was basically, there's a twister Annie M, and it was bad. It was a really bad summertime snow. All right, the point that we're bringing this up is
because and don't forget this part, like 6 other people got hurt. This was a really fucked up situation.
It's a really bad thing. Okay, outdoor show, obviously. The reason we're bringing it up is because Eric Adams, and I'm paraphrasing, said that this was his most memorable show, and and then the lights fell and they paralyzed him. That's bad English, but that's neither here nor there. And blah 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 blah. And then he died a few years later. I don't know if that was the reason why, and it was unfortunate. First off, you're a ghoul. That's the show you're picking, the one where people were injured, severely injured. But here's the thing: it's really frightening. Curtis Mayfield never fucking performed. That was the tragedy.
Didn't sing a note. He was about to step on stage when everything happened.
So, we won't dwell too much on the idiot, but, there's lying, and then there's, come on. Like, all you had to say was, I wish I had seen Curtis Mayfield, or I saw Prince, or whatever. But to sit there and
he was like, the show was really amazing before that.
Before that happened. Really? The show that never happened.
I know people who were there and going, and everybody's memory was really horrific. And nobody's memory was like, wow, it was a great show.
It was memorable, yes, because someone almost died and someone was paralyzed. So it's of all the, and it just also is like, come on. As soon as I saw that, I was like, something's not right. And super fan Jill Berry posted, that's because the show never happened. Someone could have fact checked that, but we'll have that conversation about the lapses in journalism and why you shouldn't have 12-year-olds interviewing people because they don't know how to Google something. But anyway, if you ever had a reason to hate Eric Adams, and we have many.
The article was in Vanity Fair. I'm like, I know you fact checked this. There could have been a little for the record.
VanityFair.com, but
still, someone could have been like, this concert actually didn't happen.
It didn't happen. So, in case you're wondering, Eric Adams' favorite Who show was the one where the people were killed before the Who took the stage. And his favorite Rolling Stone show is the one that's in Gimme Shelter, where the guy was killed in the audience. So, Eric Adams, yay! All right. Yeah, whatever. Fuck him. All right, sorry. All right. Yeah, you leave this one. I can't even. You know what? You're taking me to the point of no return. That's where I am right now.
And listen, it is raining. It is summer officially. And a New York summer means gray and rain all of a sudden. Yeah. But we have Billie Eilish having to apologize. Okay. For years ago,
when she was 13.
Mouthing along to a Tyler, the Creator song. And I guess she said nigga because that's in the song.
No, Asian, anti-Asian.
Oh, wait, it wasn't. I just assumed it was nigga because everybody gets so upset.
No, that's okay. It's Asian.
No, it's not ever because, they just get, here's my thing. and I'm going to say this about all of it. It's such a weird thing because people are selling you music or movies and TV and all of these things are in it, right? And people have a real problem with that. But actually, they don't seem to have a problem with that. They just have a problem with, okay, you can buy this, but you can't say this part of it. And I have a problem with that. I'm like, I think you either have to look at the artist and say, I'm going to need you guys not to use this kind of language, or you can't praise these records but get mad if somebody other than the race that it's supposed to be says the lyrics in a record.
Well, excuse me, Tyler, the Creator, last time I looked, was an Asian.
Right.
So,
at all.
I mean, to me...
And people aren't mad at him. They're mad at her.
Well, that's the thing. The
it's
issue,
kind of like, that's my point. I'm like, they always go to... This has been a thing with, and I know you hate this word, but I'm going to say it. They have the same thing with nigga. I've seen that with other people.
Well, I don't hate it. I just...
Yeah. No, but I mean, but you know what I mean? In music. And people have gotten in trouble for, like, rapping the song back and saying the word. And people are like, you can't say that. And I'm like, well, hold on. If we are selling this word, how about we just don't use it? Because I don't think, I'm looking at black people saying, listen, we keep selling this word and putting it in music and people are buying it. And then you're getting mad when people are repeating back the words they've been sold.
Right.
I have a problem with everybody wanting her to apologize. And kind of the source of it, no one's saying shit about. Why should she have to apologize for repeating the lyrics? We repeat lyrics of songs we hear. Nobody's actually sometimes even thinking about what they mean. Not even repeating
it. I mean, first off, and then she was 13. Not making excuses, but she was 13.
Right.
Secondly, she literally was lip syncing along with the song.
Right.
And did not have the presence of mind. And I do not for a minute think that she is anti-Asian or anti-black or anything. I don't, I just don't think that she's that. But it's ridiculous. Tyler, the Creator, was lambasted when he first came out, but people think he's a genius and he is really good. But the issue is not that this little white girl was lip syncing and an anti-Asian slur slipped out of her mouth, not that she was just repeating the word. Really, the issue is maybe that the black guy wrote a song with an anti-Asian slur.
Ding, ding, ding,
maybe that's where you should be correcting your hostility.
I'm sitting here watching this, and it's like, okay, if we're going to get to a place where you're going to look through everybody's past and find something, because guess what? I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the Pope. If you look in everybody's past for something,
especially the Pope,
you will find something. You will. No one is perfect. But the fact that you want a girl who was 13, when people are rapping along and singing, half the time when I'm singing songs and shit, it comes later. I'll really pay attention to the lyrics. I'm like, oh, is that what they're saying? I'm singing along and into it. You're not even really thinking about the meaning. Yeah. But to ask this, to kind of to skewer this girl when she was 13. It's like, we have to be able, listen, this is why the right is really trying to take this whole wokeness cancel culture thing, because being so fucking PC about everything is going to have dire consequences.
Well, it's the right wing that's is actually making more of a fuss about this, and the right is the one who's saying she must be punished, I just think it's, again, when we keep taking these sort of things, we minimize the real damage that is done.
That is my point. Because everything does not hold this weight. I think people have to understand nuance, but they're taking nuance out of everything. Just making it into, this means this, you should apologize. And I think people have to stop fucking apologizing. Stop apologizing.
She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't do anything wrong.
Stop making people make you feel like you need to apologize for everything.
Luckily, we have a 24-hour, in social media, we have a 12-hour news cycle.
Right.
So, all right. So speaking of apology, and this is literally, I don't know, this may be the stupidest fucking story of the week, the very short week so far. All right, so I mean, oh my God. All right, so blah blah blah. There's a documentary coming out, or a series coming out on Netflix called, I forget what it's even called, but it's supposed to be very good. And T-Pain, there's a snippet of the interview has been released, and in the interview, T-Pain who we love, he's great, nice guy, is talking about being on a plane a gazillion years ago, and Usher woke him up. Yeah, woke him up and said, "You're fucked up R&B for everybody." And T-Pain was so crushed by this that he went into a 4-year depression. Okay.
Well, he's trying to clean it up. So he did try to make it go longer. Like TMZ just got a quote with him because, you know, the kids will talk to TMZ for some reason, acting like TMZ is their friend. I don't understand, but that's another show. And what he did come back and say was, that was compounding on a whole bunch of other shit I was already going through. And Usher is somebody that I respect so much, and I still respect. So his words just hit differently. You know what I mean? And now you have all these people calling, all these headlines. Usher wakes people up to say mean things. I was like, okay, so you're on a plane, and if he asks the flight attendant, I want to speak to him, the flight attendant woke him up. I highly doubt Usher knew he was asleep.
Well, and also, okay, there's two things. We don't know the tone. He could have been laughing. He could have been saying, hey, but okay, let's just fucking cut to the chase here, because I was covering R&B at this point.
Everybody felt that way about T-Pain at that moment.
Everyone. I mean,
the auto-tune shit had gone so far, everybody was mad.
Jay-Z had a song called The Death to Auto-Tune.
Right.
Auto-tune was considered the Antichrist.
Because when he first came, remember, people loved it, and he had those hot songs, but he kept using it. And then the backlash toward that.
Right.
So, you know, I just think this constant need
for attention
and for instant headlines and instant clicks is just, we're just ruining a lot of journalism that way.
Well, it's just not, like I said, it's a promo. I mean, I guess we all feed into it, but the point is
but that shit got picked up everywhere. The New York Times, the LA Times, New York Magazine. Well, that's everywhere.
Because Netflix released the thing in promotion for the film.
Right.
But the point is that I like T-Pain. He seems like a very nice guy. He is no victim here. And for those of you who were born yesterday, auto-tune was public enemy number fucking one in the music industry for years. So even if Usher did say it, he had a point.
And the truth of the matter is, as somebody who was in my prime working in the music industry years, everybody started to feel that way. Because with T-Pain, when Cher first came out with Believe, it was brilliant. Everybody loved it. T-Pain came out with his first songs. People loved it. But then it became so prevalent and overused that everybody started to hate it, and singers started to hate it because that became a sound, and real singers were like, yo, I'm not using that shit. That's not how I sound.
Or they were forced into using it to appeal.
And that is, whatever that conversation was, first of all, whatever that conversation was, T-Pain has the right to tell his truth. So I'm not going to say he does not have the right to tell his truth. My bigger issue was Netflix cut that promo, and how they cut it was very intentional, and they got the attention for their show, right? But it's like, but you don't leave a bunch of carcasses in the road with that kind of shit, because the way you left that was really bad. 2, artists on artists, they say things and talk to each other, and you know, if you've been around artists in rooms, and the way they talk about their music and shit, it's very different conversation.
It's very different.
It's very different. And I wish in telling his truth that it was a little more eloquent, because the way he said that, even though we've only seen a small clip and he's tried to clean it up, it really did make it seem like he woke me up and said all this fucked up shit to me.
Well, that's why you know, it's like I said, what time is it now? It's 3:20. It'll be done. It'll be done in a half an hour.
Right. Because,
it'll be done in a half an hour. Meanwhile, people are Googling, who is T-Pain? Who is Usher?
Meanwhile, Usher is about to open his Fears sold very well residency in Vegas, being like,
I mean, I don't even remember.
Hopefully Usher's like, because they're friends. My hope is that Usher just reaches out to him and talks to him as friends. This doesn't have to be public, because this shouldn't be public. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to be dismissive, but it is such a non-issue. One rich man said to another rich man, your shit sucks. And the other rich man went, oh no, I'm really depressed. All right, great. That's fucking great. All right, next. Well, speaking of depressed, let's talk about Dame Dash or Jay-Z and their 900. Wait, we'll get to. Yeah, I know, but we'll get to the sports to the sports guys. We'll do those sports guys toward the end in the wrap up.
All right.
Let's talk. No, hold on. First of all, these are
have you ever dealt with him?
Yes, but you know what? My experiences with him were just. No, actually, my experiences with him, he was always super nice and great. I don't have crazy experiences with him, but mine were always, I want to think it was when I worked at MTV, like he came in to do it. I didn't have to do shoots with him, nothing too deep. So my stuff was always surface, and he was a nice guy to me.
Yeah, he was nice. He's just exhausting. I had two dealings with him, but he's just he's a lot.
Yeah, but aren't they all a lot?
No, he's a lot. He's a lot, but not a bad guy. So
why don't you give some background?
All right, so there's it all involves things that make my head hurt. So basically, this will be the segment known as Amy and Courtney are too old for this shit, and my head hurts.
Twice.
My fucking head hurts. Oh my god. Okay, so basically, Dame Dash, who owned 1/3 of Rockefeller with Jay-Z and Kareem Biggs, and Dame Dash, he's in all the videos very early on, and they very famously fell out, and Damian Dash has had a lot of money problems.
Why did they fall out? I don't even know why they actually fell out.
I think over Cameron, right?
Was it?
Dame Dash wanted to bring Cameron on board. I don't know. It's stupid. It was probably a stupid reason.
Right.
It was money. It had to be money. That's the only reason you fall out with somebody that you're in a business deal with, you know?
Right.
Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. And he's had a litany of money problems. But long story short, he wants to sell an NFT of Reasonable Doubt, which was Jay-Z's first album, obviously, and the first release on Rockefeller, and pretty much a record that changed everything for everybody. So he wants to sell that. Don't even get me started on NFTs. That's a whole nother thing. My head is going to explode.
Yeah, we're going to have somebody on the show.
Yeah, no. We'll have to ask a 10-year-old what that means. Okay. I just figured out what Bitcoin was last week, and now it's over. But anyways, long story short, he wants to sell an NFT of it, and Jay is saying, no, you cannot, because it's not yours to sell, because I'm the artist. I did the record. And Damian Dash's response is, I'm 1/3 of the owner, or I was 1/3 of the owner when this record came out. So,
and he still owns his 1/3 of Rockefeller.
He owns, I think
he did, because he said that Jay-Z tried to offer him $1.5 million to buy it out, and he said he felt like that was too cheap. Why are you trying?
That is too cheap.
He was like, you want 1 point, and that's what he says, what David says. So,
because remember when Jay became the label president, up at Polygram? So
Def Jam,
was around Def Jam. No, but remember when they were upstairs, there was something going on.
At Worldwide Plaza,
Right. So that's when that's around when it happened. But I think it was over Cameron, but I don't know. Ask somebody, But long story short, it's rich men fighting over toys. Once again, the question though becomes, and this is something you and I have discussed, things are moving so fast with technology and the idea of ownership and the idea of what is this and what. So we can no longer, copyright law almost has to be written on.
Kind of, sort of. It does. It has to be updated. Yeah, it really does.
All the time. Because who could have predicted when this album was made, 25 years later, somebody was going to sell an NFT, 3 words that didn't even, initials that didn't even exist, and try to make money. So it's, we're chasing our tail with this stuff,
and streaming and just the way all that works. Yeah,
everything.
Which brings us to Jay and Jonathan Mannion.
So, wait, I was just going to ask you though. So, this is just now going to be in the courts, or they're firing shots back and forth?
Well, right now, Jay is litigious. So
very litigious.
His first thing was his lawyers are dealing with the Dame situation, but Dame is saying, I still own 1/3 of Rockefeller. You can't tell me what I can do with something that I own.
Right.
Which I agree with, right?
No, it's a third his.
But if you own 1/3 of a label, but I'm the artist who created this music and it's my voice, it gets tricky. But we saw what just happened with Taylor Swift with that, right? Because rights are rights, and it's a weird situation because
it's weird.
Him trying to do the NFT on an album that he is not the primary artist on. I see where Jay is like, oh,
but is he an executive? But he's an executive producer, right?
Yes,
and he put up money for it. So and he owns a third. So would he have to then bring in Kareem Biggs and ask him what he wants to do, or can he just sell a third of it? Like, how do you sell a third of an album? What, he's just going to put Can't Knock the Hustle and a couple, like 3 songs, and that's it? It's really fucking weird.
Yeah.
And the law just has to, it's like, that's why when people talk about the Constitution, it's like set in stone. No, it was written a million years ago. So, I mean, these laws have not kept up with
the Constitution was written about, was it 90 years before electricity? 70-something years before electricity?
The Constitution was written in, 1776.
Yeah, but the first versions of electricity came like 90 years later. That lets you know there's so much they could have imagined computers. They couldn't imagine you walking around with a computer in your pocket.
They couldn't imagine black people and women. Okay,
you know what? And then there's that.
Okay, so basically, that's today's version of Jay-Z People's Court. That's number 1.
That's number 1. Now number 2 is really tricky.
It's really tricky. All right, so why don't you explain
that.
Now,
Jonathan Mannion is a very famous photographer who has shot
photographer.
Everybody. A lot of the hip-hop artists you love, famous album covers, photos you've seen, he was that guy.
The DMX, he did those DMX issues with the blood. He did
Tupac,
all of Jay's records. He's a hugely influential image-wise photographer. I mean, he is one of those guys, you look at his picture and you go, that's a Jonathan Mannion. All right.
Now, he, I guess for years, has been selling Jay-Z prints, but he's also done these licensing deals with different companies and has been selling bags with Jay's name on it, shirts with Jay's picture and his name on it.
Yeah, that's problematic.
Like record plates for turntables with his name and image on it. And, I've been having debates back and forth with friends being like, well, it depends on the contracts. I'm like, look, when I was a product manager, I've been on 873,000 shoots. I've been on a gazillion album packaging shoots. I have negotiated the album packaging shoots as a product manager. And that's always usually very specific use, those contracts. Yeah. It is not, because with some artists that I work with, the bigger ones, let me just tell you something. I learned a lot of stuff from Matthew Knowles. People want to talk about him. But what I learned early on was he was one of those people with those shoots, especially with his artists, with some of his bigger artists, those shoots would be bought outright. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't be like the photographer owned those. It was like it was bought outright. So the label paid for half, the artist paid for half. So they owned those shoots. So nobody could come and just say, I'm going to now put your face on a T-shirt.
I think that's where it gets problematic.
That's where it gets problematic to me too.
Because the T-shirts, the merch.
So if he didn't buy his shoot outright, and probably for reasonable doubt, the first album, it would be like $1 million, $800,000. It's very expensive to do, which bigger artists can do once you get bigger. Like it's a different conversation with your label and your management buying your shoots.
Right.
First album, hip hop artists, nobody was. They weren't
indie record.
They weren't paying that kind of money to buy shoots. So Jonathan probably is the copyright holder to a bunch of images, and you can sell prints. But to me, it does become, and this is where I think it's going to get wonky for him. It does become weird when you start creating merch. Because merch is different than you selling.
Yeah,
and these contracts are usually are specific use. It says what this shoot is about.
Right.
And usually with people who sell prints and stuff, there's a license agreement or something with the artist to be like,
I can sell a print. Like I can make a print. Yeah,
I can do something like that. When you start making merch,
that's not good.
It seems, I think of all the shoots I've been on, all the photographers I've been on, I don't know if any of the other ones who suddenly started making sweatshirts and bags with people's name on.
But and I'm wondering, I'm with you too, because we've all been to tons of galleries and places where famous photographers, if you go up to Woodstock, there's a very well-known photographer, Elliot Landry, who did all the band stuff, and Dylan. He sells that stuff everywhere. Now, money was different back then, but he probably has permission to sell it. Where Jonathan might be able to get around it is if he does something where he takes the image and then tweaks it, like get somebody, a graffiti artist, to kind of mess with it. And
but that's not what he did.
No, but I'm saying that's where if he wants to do it, because they have done that, the book, The Mashup, they did that where they took images, the artist, the photographer owned those images, but then she brought in other artists to tweak the images. Right. So then it becomes something else. I think that, so yeah, John, I don't have a problem with the selling of the prints. I think making it into merch, make it, I think that Jonathan and Dame Dash need to tag up and make an NFT of the thing. Yeah, and again, here's another thing. I will say this, and it's just, I understand why Jay is litigious, but sometimes it's like, this should be done off camera. It's not a good look for him.
Well, except, are we just seeing the end result when it becomes litigious? Maybe, yeah. Because the conversation with Jonathan evidently was he's been asking for a long time to stop doing this, and Jonathan said no. Stop selling merch with my name, because he's putting his name on it with the images. And Jonathan, and evidently from we're only hearing from one side. From the J side, they're saying, well, Jonathan said he would stop for, I guess, some undisclosed sum, which was millions and millions of dollars. So now you're going to go to court, and here's the thing. I would be protective of my image. Right. I'd be protective of you may have shot me. You want to sell prints? Tell me you're going to sell prints. You can sell prints. But if you start making merch, now you're kind of interfering with my actual business and what I'm doing.
Well, I'll find out, because we have a lot of friends in common, me and John. Yeah. So I'll do some super sleuthing.
Yeah, I hate that shit. And I feel you, because it's like, the litigious part is always like, you wish people could work it out. But you also know, being in this business, sometimes you just need a good old lawyer. You got to do it. You just got to get a good old lawyer and let them get in there and work the shit out for you. But I do say, every time we hear Jay's name lately, there's always felt like a lawyer. There's a lawyer in the conversation. So.
Lawyer. I know.
It's very LA. He moved to LA and got very like,
I know, and he's suing everybody. Yeah,
my team is just going to sue you all.
I'm just going to sue you. All right. Speaking of your team, watch this segue. Gay NFL, talk about, I could care less about football, but
a 6-year veteran, Carl Nassib. 6 years in the league.
That was weird. Okay.
Oh, that was me actually. I pressed and I was listening to him speak. So I'm sorry. Did you hear that?
No, you're looking
around. You were looking around like someone's in my house. They're talking to me.
Right. Who's talking? They're listening to us. Jay's going to sue us.
Right. No, he's coming right after the show airs. He's going to allegedly send a lawyer to sue us. And I'll
be nice to have company.
No, it'll be like, sue us so I can get on TV and get more people to listen to the show. I'll be like, I don't know why we said that on ImmaLetYouFinish. That is now available on Deezer, iHeart, Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else. Hi, yes, but but don't ever rush me when I'm telling people where our fucking show can be heard. Hi, that's the good part.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's like that little thing they can hear. But yeah, it's really amazing, because we know that there are gay men and women in every sport. Football is the one. You saw the Michael Sam experiment, which I always felt. Do you remember Michael Sam?
Yes, I do. Was drafted. I do remember that.
I always felt that the way I just wish he had some black people advising him, because he needed a different team. I think the way he came out was courageous and great, but I watched a bunch of steps they were making and I was like, this is weird. Like, you're not doing this right.
Right.
It's like, you're not going to give this guy a fair shot. And what ended up happening, he didn't get a fair shot.
Right.
Really. But you got Carl, who's been playing this is about to be his 6th season. And he was just matter of fact, and I love it. And he's giving $100,000 to the Trevor Project. I believe him talking about that and bringing it up, I hope more donations will pour into the Trevor Project. But I do believe representation is important. And I think it's really important for young people to see that it's, I think we're gay. I always, as a gay guy and knew I was gay, I felt special, but I didn't feel like I needed to just be like, I'm gay. I was just like, I'm a person who happens to be gay. And with Carl, he was like, I think he's giving you, I'm a person who happens to be gay. And I love that because we just being just part of society, doing your thing, it doesn't matter. It's nobody's business who anybody goes to bed with. It just isn't. And I'm proud of him and I'm proud of this moment. And I'm proud of the way, the league stood behind him, his team, different sports folks from all across stood behind him. And, it's a good moment. It's a good moment during Pride Month. It's like, gosh, can we have some good stories? You know what I mean? Because everything is always so tragic. And this is one that is not, and it makes me happy.
I will just throw a little bit of cold water on this, and I agree with you. The real test will be when the season starts and the first evangelical says, I'm not going to be in the locker room with him. If that happens. I'm just saying that'll be, because it is fantastic what he did, and I love that it was effortless, and it shouldn't even be a conversation. But that's going to be the test. The first evangelical that
and then that person is going to be the one to look like an idiot because you played against him for 5 seasons.
Right, exactly. Oh no, now you can't. Now you can't touch
now
me.
You can't. Now you're worried about it, and it's like. So many football players have come out of the closet after they've retired. So it's like, he's not the only one. And nobody, what's really interesting about this conversation? Your hair looks nice. I like it.
Oh, it's very long. Thank you.
It's long. It looks good. I just noticed it. You're going to cut it?
I'm not. I'm going to have a paid professional.
You're going to pay? Anyway. Oh, see, I just got all up top. See, that's some gay shit. You're in the middle of something serious. Your hair. It's like your hair looks good. It is getting long, too. It is. Because that cut you had lasted for a long time.
Yes. I know how to get my money's worth out of a Groupon haircut.
It always fascinates me that certain men seem to think because you're gay, we're just all going around staring at dicks all day. It's like, oh look, there's a dick, 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 there's a dick. It's like, motherfucker, nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. And it's always the motherfucker who you're looking at like, women don't even want to fuck you. You're horrible.
Men have an exaggerated
Yeah, they have this weird thing thinking like, I don't need that motherfucker around me. I was like, you're the most ignorant person in the room.
Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. Plus, not for nothing.
Happy Pride.
Speaking of my vast experience with straight men and gay men, very few gay men want to fuck a straight guy because what's the point?
No, they have a lot of gay men who get attracted to that whole fantasy.
All right, well, no, we don't want to jinx Carl.
No, but Carl has been playing in this league for 5. No, Carl is going to be just 5.
Well, good for him.
And I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him.
He was beforehand. All right, why don't you talk a little bit about the NCAA versus SCOTUS first 9-0 appeal a decision all year.
Well,
they're going to get rid of abortion. They're going to send women into the streets with coat hangers. Mm-hmm. They're not going to let black people vote, but athletes can get paid. Okay, yay.
Well, they didn't say that. They didn't clear the way for cash payments. But what they are saying is you have to give some leeway to these kids. It's like most kids who are on a scholarship and go to school can have a job. They can get a present from someone in their family without being penalized. And there's this weird, I understand what they're worried about in sports, but a lot of these kids who come to college and get these scholarships in sports because it's their way out, a lot of them, of the neighborhoods that they're in, and it's a track to professional sports and being able to support their family. It's like, they can't work, they can't receive, it's like all of these rules. And the schools are making so much money off of them, especially these D1 schools that are all, and the games are televised, and they're like, well, the scholarship is the money. I'm like, I'm sorry. One commercial break from one of those games is the full team scholarship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's also, I mean, there is,
selling jerseys with their name. They get none of that.
I mean, dude, come on. All these schools, they can afford it. But I think the other point, which is really interesting, is that getting back to this idea of how we redefine things, let's stop the illusion that these are amateur athletes, okay? These are professional athletes who have not yet signed a contract. These are not, this is not the West Forth pickups fucking game. Right. All right, the Olympics are not amateurs. Let's stop this shenanigans, okay? It's yes, they're not NBA level. Yes, most of them won't go into the NBA. Yes, college basketball is the last time you do see rich white men playing professional basketball who are not from a foreign country, but they're not amateur athletes. So stop treating them like it's a PSAL league, and they're they deserve some form of compensation, as you said, outside the education, because they are generating buku bucks for these schools.
Bucks for networks who are advertising for the schools. For they have to, their uniforms that they're wearing are branded by either Nike or Adidas or one of the companies. Right. It's like, everybody is making money but these kids, and if somebody gives them a gift of something, they're penalized for it. And it's like, it's hard to be the poor one on the totem pole when you see everybody else around you eating good and doing whatever. Right. And if you're taken to dinner by somebody and you're found out, it's a problem. Now, I do get you're trying to keep everything fair and cheating out of sport. I understand all of that. But I also understand that if I'm a poor college student, when I was in college, I had a job. You know what I mean? Yeah, and if my job is to go to school and to play basketball, then you have to give me some sort of stipend so I can maybe buy myself a new pair of sneakers. Maybe I can go to eat. Maybe I can go to a movie.
Especially if you're tying in the academic scholarship to the performance on the court. Right. Because if you're going to say that they're tied in, then you are in fact a hired employee. That you are hired in a lot of ways. And if you don't do well in the classes, are you still allowed to be on the team? Like, which are you? Are you an indentured servant or are you an academic scholarship? So I just find it fascinating though that it was 9-0.
Well, this is good. We'll see where this leads, because you have student athletes really fighting for being paid and different stuff. And I don't think that they should have, like, it shouldn't be like NBA levels of money.
Oh, no.
But there has to be, you have to figure something out, because then you have to let them, you can't be like, there's a lot of penalties for these kids. There's a line they have to walk that other students in the school don't have to walk. And there are other students on scholarship that don't have to walk that same line.
But then it's like we were saying, here's another case of where things have changed. Maybe not 25 years, 40 years ago when these rules were instituted, the NCAA March, all this stuff didn't exist. Nobody was selling the jersey of a college football or basketball player. So again, you can't keep the rules
the same
of the 20s and then sell a commercial spot for March Madness for $5 million. You can't have it both ways. You're either going to acknowledge that it's an industry and still keep the athletic integrity, right? We don't want them bought and paid for like that, or you don't. I mean, you can't have it both ways. So
some of these kids are household names, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
They are household names.
Zion Williamson, excuse me. Everyone knew who he was, Of course they are. Yeah, you can't have it both ways. All right, where do you want to go next? Let's
go to... I was listening to, I know you haven't heard it yet, so we won't go in deep, but I'm just going to tell everybody the new HER album is fantastic. I was a little worried because I really liked her when she first came out. The first EP was amazing. Then there was like 40 EPs and a lot of songs, and they started sounding like the same song. Then she even made like a reggae song, and I was like, okay, what's happening? That was one of those moments when you're like, let's stick to...
Yeah, that was not good.
Not doing that. And it just feels like it's a solid body of work. And you know how I love a body of work. I love it when somebody understands the concept of an album.
We like cohesiveness.
Yeah, and it's really good. And she's young, and it sounds great. It's really good. I like it a lot.
She already has an Old Navy commercial, by the way.
I know.
I was like, oh, well, that was fast. Yeah, I will listen to it. I have heard very good things about it, so I will listen to it, but I just didn't have time this morning to listen to it because I feel like I should pay attention. She's someone to pay attention to. What else do you want to go with there?
Today, on June 22nd, 1971, Joni Mitchell's Blue was released.
All right, so how old were you?
I wasn't born yet.
Okay, so I was, and let me tell you something.
And wasn't born yet, meaning I might have been 3 or 4, but...
Okay. So I was, what year was it? 2011? I mean, 1971?
1971.
No, 1971. I was 12. Okay. So I was, was I? Yes, I was 12. Okay. So every mopey girl in junior high and high school listened to that record till the wheels fell off. I knew every single song. Back then, I actually had a soprano voice, which is hilarious because I sound like Large Marge from The Simpsons right now. But I had a beautiful soprano voice, and I used to sing every single song. And the hilarity of it is that here I am, little virginal 12, 13, 14, because it went through singing about lovers on Greek islands. And
you don't know shit that you're singing about, right?
I don't even know where Greece is. You know, I never even kissed the boy. Right. And I'm like, singing these oh, and carrying my old man. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. But no, I mean, that album, you know what? And that album absolutely, you know, I have my issues with Joni Mitchell as a human being.
Do you?
Yeah, everything I've ever read about. I've read several books, and she's, I don't want, you know, not a nice person. But that said, I have no issues with her artistically. And this album is, many people have said, I'm not original in this, that saying that she may be in so many ways more important or certainly better than Dylan in a lot of ways. She certainly was musically more interesting than Dylan. Lyrically, maybe not as much. I mean, Dylan is obviously a great lyricist, but she was 23 when she recorded it.
And this was the album where she was dating James Taylor at the time, right?
No,
or had they just...
Graham Nash, all of them.
No, yeah, but a bunch of the songs on this album are very specific about the shit with James Taylor, and remember his addiction, and they were in love, and then his fame kind of exploded, and he broke up with her.
And well, Graham Nash is also someone, the songs are about him, and My Old Man is about Graham Nash. You know, I mean, you know, bless her heart, Joni. I mean, whatever. It was a very incestuous. James Taylor's another person who comes off very badly in bios and stuff like that. Also not a nice person. Shocking, a drug addict who's not a nice person.
I mean, I have to say with Joni, I think Blue is a great record, but I like her weird offbeat records that people don't like. I like Dog Eat Dog. I like her Jaya. And I really love the Hissing of Summer Lawns.
Oh, yeah,
I love that album. Love that.
This is very different. I mean, I think what's great about her, and we can say this about any sort of catalog career artist, is that there is enough room in her catalog to give it to Blue, give it to Hissing Summer Lawn, giving it to Diane Juan's Daughter. I mean, she's never made a bad album. She's just made albums that are different. And those albums were made when she was older and getting into more jazzy sort of stuff. No, but Blue is, like you said, I mean, Blue is one of those albums that is it's not just a moment in time, because it really cemented the woman singer-songwriter thing. Yeah. For real. Yeah. So it's a touchstone record. And you know, everyone, I mean, Jesus Christ, River has become a Christmas, like a perennial Christmas song.
Kind of, sort of. It's a beautiful song. It really is.
It's a beautiful song. And she did a lot of the production on that album, too, which is sort of, The Times has a great thing this week, an interactive thing, 50 Reasons to Love Blue. And it has little excerpts from people who were involved in the songs talking about it. It's very cool. So, yeah, no, it's an important record. And I'm sure when you were 3 in your little crib going, Carrie, no.
Yeah, I try to think about, because Joni Mitchell was not an artist that was played in my house when I was young. She wasn't one of the ones. I don't think I really discovered her. I discovered her on my own, and I was probably a teenager when.
Let me ask you something, and do you think when Prince came out and talked about her, was that like a thing where you think a lot of young black kids suddenly went, oh shit, really?
I think that, I definitely think he opened up people to her, and because he really revered her. And I want to say he played on one of her records, maybe. I think he's played with her or something. Maybe. Because, or played one of her songs. And, but that's like anything, right? When a contemporary artist of the time starts talking about their influence and they bring up somebody, people automatically, the curiosity is, well, who's that? And go dig into the catalog.
Right. No, I think, I'm just wondering if that, because I do know a lot of people who, black folk in particular, are suddenly like, because, Joni Mitchell, like if you were a white person, that was like saying, I like to breathe. It was like Joni Mitchell.
Do you know what's funny about her? That I think that most people, I think the legend of Joni Mitchell is actually bigger than her music. Because you think about the amount of albums, those first albums in the beginning, everybody knows those songs, but people don't know. I think Past Blue, a lot of people don't know.
I disagree. Courtney Spark was her biggest.
Oh, yeah,
Courtney Spark was a big record. And so was For the Roses. And For the Roses they charted very high. But
we're talking like 5 albums out of, how many has she made? She's had like 30-something albums, maybe.
I could see that. But she stopped being played on the radio. And the radio. Yeah. Look, let's face it. All artists, there are very few. Bruce Springsteen is still making records. None of his shit is played. You have your peak commercial years.
Except he still has #1 albums. And rock radio still plays it.
Well, rock radio, but she was dealing with a different issue. And she's a woman.
Yeah, well, and you know how that works. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Let's talk about Donnie a little bit, because you brought that up, and I thought that...
the color section, man. It just... Last Friday, the 20th anniversary, I know we've talked about that album in the past. The 20th anniversary release has come up, and people are really seem excited about it.
Can you kind of give a little context for the record? Because it is definitely like, it's one of those records that but you may not be aware of.
Well, this record came out, God, what year was that? 90?
Well, 25 years ago. So
yeah.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm like, when did that come out?
Maybe it was 25 years ago. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me count. Oh, right. Okay.
So Donnie started when I don't know if he's from Atlanta, but he was singing around a town in Atlanta, kind of in that same scene as India Ari and a bunch of
Dion Ferris and Follow for Now. That group Follow for Now.
Oh my God, I completely forgot
about
them. Holy shit.
They were great, right? And Van Hunt.
I worked Dion's first record.
I love her.
Her solo album was that record was so people
good.
Need to revisit that record. It wasn't. What was it? Wildflower? Is that the name of it? What's the name of the Dion album?
Wildflower.
It is such an amazing record. Passion is my fucking song. Passion. Anyway,
she's a great singer, and she's another one who hooked up with the wrong guy, and he fucked up her life and ended her career. To be continued.
She still performs. She's still out there
but you know what I mean. It's like,
and our buddy Miggs is still friends with Dion.
I know, and she was the girl she dated. For the guy from Follow for Now. That was her boyfriend. And then there was there was a whole little, I hate this term, but I'm just going to say all R&B scene in Atlanta.
I was about to say neo soul, which I hate that. And
both use terms
and they kind of try to lump him into that, which is not what he ever said he was. Right. So he puts the album out on Giant Step. The budge is huge. It's, we need to do a show on Giant Step. Giant Step. The records they chose to put out in that period of time are just all still sound so great.
Let me reach out to Morris. Morris he's an old friend.
We need to have, because 07, who we're going to talk about is in a future show. We're going to do this unsung show that we were going to do today, but we've been talking it out. We're already talking for almost an hour. Those first records, before they went on to Elektra in the US, were on Giant Step. But he was on Giant Step, so the buzz happens there, and it's a really buzzy record.
Yeah.
Gets signed to Motown, they re-release it, and nothing really happened.
Nothing.
And it's one of those ones that the cool kids and college-age kids will always come back to this day and discover, because it really is a snapshot talking about Black life in America. And it's a really brilliant record. So this new version has 16 tracks. I believe there are 2 new tracks and then like alternate versions, demos, and
remastered and all that kind of stuff.
And all of that kind of stuff. So people, I hope you guys really check that out, because
it's called The Color Check, and the title itself at the time was very controversial. The cover of the album is fantastic.
Yes.
It was a record where you looked at it and you knew what you were going to get. And it was very much, as you said, a snapshot of sort of Black bohemia at that time. This is the same time where you have Erica coming out, you have a whole new Dion, like you said, you have a whole sort of like way for Black artists who had been pigeonholed. Like, if you're not doing R&B and you're not doing hip hop, then what are you doing? What do you mean you have a guitar in your hand? What the fuck is that? So someone like Donnie is coming from a soul perspective, but there's also a lot of Bill Withers in the sort of storytelling vibe. I have to go back to that record because I was certainly bombarded with that record because I was writing it. I mean, that was a record. They were like, Amy Linden. It was a, you must listen to this. But he was very, and he just sort of put out the record and went into the ethos. I mean, and that was it.
It's that weird thing where you see something and you're like, it has everything. It has everything. You think the timing is right. It's that moment. He can really sing. He can perform. And then you're like, nothing.
Why do you think it was?
I don't know. It's just one of those weird things.
Do you think going to people joke around about Motown being the kiss of death, but do you think that going to a major was the problem? Do you think he would have been better suited being a really big fish in a small pond?
No, because look, he was label mates at that time with India Ari, who did well for them. Erykah Badu, who's in that vein, who did well for them. It is just one of those things where you can't really explain why it didn't connect. But it did. It connects with people on a certain level who've heard it and love it. And it's why that record has been talked about for so many years. But you know, with the public, it's so weird. I just can't tell.
I think that often the public and also the label to some extent, even though Motown is in theory a Black music label, but I think that they have a hard time taking more than one thing at a time. Like, it's like, oh, there's 2 women doing that stuff. Oh, I can't take one. It's too confusing. I only want one. I can't have more than one. And well, I have an issue with India Ari. That'll be a whole nother conversation because she works my last nerve. I find her to be just like a human equivalent of Black soap or Shea, but she's a human equivalent.
No, I used to always say, this is so horrible. But I would always say to my friend, I said, she's still singing about like cocoa butter and shea butter. Yeah,
it was just like enough. I just was like, yeah, my hair is fucked up too. Okay.
But I like her, and I actually really liked her first 2 albums a lot. I did. But it's funny with her, she was never an artist that stuck to me that I had to feel like I need to listen to her when she comes
I think there was, well, my point was, not to be mean to Miss India Ari, India.Ari, by the way. Don't forget the dot. I think my point is that the public can only take so much, and especially when it comes to Black music, and they're like, but we're already listening to this one. Why do we have to listen to that one? He may not, I don't think he had videos the same way that they did. He wasn't as out there.
Can I just say, I hate what, I look at Black radio and I really hate what they've done to Black music, the way they've segregated it. There's like, there's no room for Black rock, alternative acts. It's like, you have to sound either super R&B or you need to be hip hop with, like, if you're, and I'm talking about if you're a singer, super R&B, or you need to be with hip hop beats and you have to have the hottest rappers on your song. It's like, there's no room, especially at that time, where are the room?
You're talking about then or now?
Where is the room for these artists who are making great music but not being played? I think of all the hours of the week in radio, there's not one Black rock show on any of our stations. Like they do with the dance shows. They the dance shows are still at midnight on BLS and different channels. They could be, if you had a 1 a.m., if you don't want to do it during the day, fine. Give them a midnight a rock show. There are so many Black artists and Black people. We're not this monolithic group that just wants to hear R&B, just wants to hear hip hop.
Well, that's why I find it encouraging, the success of St. John. I mean, he's one of a many. I'm not saying that she's doing anything that hasn't been done before, but SZA is an interesting lane because she appeals as much to the alt girls, white girls, as she does to. So I think that, look, all right, newsflash: water is wet and America is racist. Hell, stop me if you've heard that one before. No, it's very much, look, we know this. It's like there's an idea of what a Black artist is going to be. There's an idea of what a woman artist should sound like. We still have issues with women holding fucking guitars in their hand unless they're strumming it, you know?
Well, try being a Black woman who makes pop music. I've worked with Black women who make pop, and pop radio just acts like they're invisible.
Right. No, but so exactly. So that's what we're saying is that if and in a very strange way, Donnie was coming up at a point where everybody was pretending that things were opening up. Mm-hmm. But luckily we're not as radio driven now. And it'd be interesting to see the response to this record now and to see if he tours with it or does something with it.
Well, what he just said, and I like, is, and I thought it was very fierce. He was like, it's really interesting that the label that dropped me is putting out a 20th anniversary of my album. He said, but I'm excited because that will open up opportunities for me to go out there and do stuff. And I do think that with the buzz around this record, and hopefully people are streaming it because now it's so much easier to just boop, 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 there it is.
Right.
That he will go out this summer and play some of these songs in his new music because he's made other music, and people will have an awareness of them. That's what I love about music, and this is the part that I do love about streaming. All of that stuff is evergreen.
Yeah,
you don't have to go search for it. Oh, who's Donnie? Let me type it up, and it all pops right up.
Well, I will say in defense, the people who are releasing the record now are the people who do catalog, and those guys always have better ears.
Absolutely. So,
my friend, our old friend Harry Wenger, who does the catalog, they have a whole division there where they do like urban reissues. So those are the guys who dug him back then, and then are going, okay, now let's put it out. And they don't have to worry about a marketing budget. They can literally just take the fucking thing and put it on Spotify and bingo.
And what people don't realize, because I know the same thing with Sony, you know, that's the legacy department.
Oh, legacy is great.
And if people think it's these new releases that are keeping the lights on. Mm-hmm. No, it's all of this old shit. The streaming numbers for all of these old records, everybody forgets all of that. The labels, it's just a trough of money they're making. You don't have to remarket any of that. They have repackaged. Let me just tell you something. I've seen Destiny's Child #1s, Destiny's Child's greatest love songs, Destiny's Child's dance. They have packaged all of that every which way.
Excuse me. Your friend Miss Linden used to make a nice little penny for all those Will Downing's greatest hits, Motown Christmas. I'm like, Sarah
you have written liner notes for a lot of greatest hits and shit. They get you.
Thank you, Black Jesus, for
and those are the checks that always clear.
Those are the checks
that are no issues.
And there's no problem. And you just sit there, and you know what? That's a good thing.
Right.
Every 5 years, you take the same thing, you put it in another package, and you give it to people. And then there's always some person who hasn't heard that song.
That's true.
That's what you do.
Listen, I love it. I love people discovering, and I'm hoping, and I hope you guys go out there, re-listen to Donnie, re-listen to Simpler Things by 07. Go and listen to Wildflower. Like, if you have not pulled out Dionne Farris and listened to her in years, man, it's one of those albums you just put it on, and from start to finish, your whole life is like, wow, this was dope.
For some of you who might not know who she is, she had that. She had a huge VH1 hit with "I Know," but she was the woman who sang on the Arrested Development.
Yeah, Arrested Development, right? Yeah. Won't you take me?
No, wonderful singer, great girl. Yeah. What we're gonna do, because we wanted to do it this time, but we got caught up in the rapture, which is a good thing. That's what happens.
Farmer, Nevermore, 2023.
As if there's going to be a world in 2023, but that's good. We might be contained in little camps by then. But we are going to talk about some unsung, or not unsung, undersung people that we really kind of vibe of. Hopefully I'll see the Sparks document. I found it on one of those places. Look, nobody, why do I keep making air quotes when I'm on the radio? Can you hear my air quotes? Mm-hmm. All right.
And I want to tell people we got a bunch of guests coming. Our friend Miguel Beguera is going to be on the show in July, and we are going to discuss. He was both Nas and Lauren's publicist, and we're going to discuss the campaigns for Illmatic, Nas's debut, and Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, and just shaping those campaigns and talk about the rollout of those records.
He was the first Fugees record too.
Yeah, he was the first Fugees record. He did all of it. He was all of it. Clef, all of it.
And I will talk to you about how Miguel tried to buy me off with a McFlurry so that I wouldn't print something about Wyclef saying that Lauren didn't know who the baby of her, the father of her baby was. And Miguel said, "Let's get a McFlurry." And Amy Linden was so excited to have a McFlurry that she said, "Okay, I won't print it."
Allegedly.
I did have a McFlurry.
You did, but I'm allegedlying the other part just for the allegedly. For the allegedly-ness of it all.
Yeah, all right. That's what a fucking loser I was. Here I am with my friend, and I adore Miguel, we'll talk about it, who had a Sony expense account when Sony expense account meant something, and I'm settling for a McFlurry?
Use a McFlurry. Let me just tell you something.
Do you know how many meals we used to? All right.
Can we just take a moment to? It's Pride Month. Give pride to my Sony Amex, because when I got that Sony Amex in my expense account, I mean that was back when we just had budgets.
No, God.
I used to stay at the Sunset Marquis in LA, the Delano in Miami.
Was like, do you need a car home?
Right. Oh,
yes.
I took a car.
Do. I actually do. Thank you. I'm going one block, but I need a car.
And because I worked in promotion.
Oh, girl.
This thing. Every night. I mean, I'm getting. All right. I'm getting for Klimt. Because now.
Nothing.
Because now I use my McDonald's app and I'm like, I need my free fries. They said the fries were free.
Don't even get me started. All right.
And on that note.
All right. Give the spiel. Go. We're on Pantheon.
You've been listening to.
Thank you.
I'ma Let You Finish, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. What's up, Pantheon Podcast fam?
Yay,
and I want you all to know, as you all know, because you're listening to us, but tell your friends, listen, we're on Deezer, iHeart, Spotify, Apple, Pandora. We're everywhere. So you know you like this fuckery. You know you want more of it. You know it's Pride. And I'm the gay one, so you have to listen to us so that you can give me a little happy Pride moment. And
don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself.
Well, no, I'm trying this for dates. Because I'm open to all.
We don't only want listeners for the next 10 days.
No, I'm doing it for listeners for cock. Listen. The name of our show is now Listeners for Cock. All right, so you guys know what it is. This is what it is. We thank you for listening. We're here. You're here.
He's queer.
We're queer. We're gonna have some good shit coming up. We need to get with your guy because we need to have a good old giant step moment. I'm gonna call. Thanks for rocking with us. It's summer, guys.
Yay!
It's summer. It's been a rough year. I hope everybody's feeling good. I hope you're feeling healthy. Drink lots of water. Take your vitamins. Have a good summer because we deserve it after the last year and a half.
Well, we are going to talk to them next week.
We are, but it's like you got to say it to people every time. We appreciate you. We appreciate you listening. And tune in next week.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sportsbook in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to betfredsports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.